Hey there, you're listening to the Pursue Your Spark podcast. I'm your host, Heike Yates. We're here to help you live a healthy, fit, and confident lifestyle with tips, strategies, and interviews. Listen to the most inspiring women and how they dared to live the life they dreamed of and handle roadblocks in their path. Well, hey there, Heike Yates here, and welcome to another episode of the Pursue Your Spark podcast. Today's interview is rocking. But before we dive in, why don't you hop on over to iTunes and leave a review? This will be super awesome, and I totally appreciate it because the reviews will help the show be found, and this in turn will help other women learn about all this amazing content we're talking on the show. So you can stop the button, do it quickly, and then hop on back here. Today's interview is about something that most women don't want to talk about it. And it's leaking bladders. And oftentimes you associate a leaking bladder with getting old or already being old, that when you sneeze or cough, you start to dribble. And this can be very embarrassing because you're just standing there and you have a big sneeze and suddenly urine trickles down into your panties or even down your legs. So what better way than to talk to my friend Sydney Larson today, the co-founder of Lilybird. And what they say about Lilybird is, tell your bladder who's boss. Get pads and disposable underwear delivered to your home so you can feel confident leaving it. So enjoy this interview with Sydney Larson, how overcoming perfectionism and self-doubt founded Lilybird. Today's guest is Sydney Larson. Sydney is a startup expert and entrepreneur, solving real problems for real women. She specifically destigmatizes women's midlife health issues. Sydney co-founded Lilybird for women with leaky laughs and dribble dilemmas. Sydney, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Heike. I'm so glad to be on your show. I have really enjoyed listening to so many of your podcasts and your guests. You're so positive and all of your guests are so really inspirational. So I am just thrilled to be a part of that.
You are definitely part of it. Sydney, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, where you grew up and that you have a dog or children so they know.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area in California and still based there. I live on the peninsula with my husband and my wonderful dog, Juno, who thinks that, she runs the house. And a lot of my family actually and my husband's family are in the area as well. And so it's really nice to be close to family.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love this area. My son lives in San Francisco, actually. And we visit usually twice a year, and it's always fun. Either we go skiing or we do something around the Bay Area.
Yeah, it's such a great place to live. We are so spoiled here with the weather. Although, to be honest, we've had some very unseasonal weather this week. It's been raining, which is really, really odd. But yeah, it's a wonderful place. And my husband and I are big fans of San Francisco as well. We lived up there for a long time. It's a fun place.
Yeah, so fun. Now, let's get into the startup expert. How did you get into being a startup expert? That's a tough job, I think, from my experience, not knowing anything about startups.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I just got really lucky and I kind of fell into it and it ended up being a really good fit. Many years ago when I graduated from college, my plan was I was a molecular biology major and my plan was to go into the pharmaceutical industry.
Ah,
And my last semester of college, I took an environmental geology class. And
uh-huh.
it was the first time I really had been exposed to the idea of climate change and renewable energy. And I was so inspired by it. Talk about pursuing your spark, that I decided I need to change my path. I need to go save the world and work in renewable energy. And I ended up getting very, very lucky. I landed at a tiny, well, then tiny company that was focused on solar energy.
Uh-huh.
And it was my first exposure to startups.
Uh-huh.
And what I learned very quickly is that being a startup expert really just means that you're an expert in learning and realizing that you don't necessarily always know the answers, because there are constant new challenges that are being thrown your way that you have to figure out. And I absolutely loved, it's kind of a wild ride, and I just loved the whole thing. I loved, that there was always a problem to solve, and that it was really easy to see how much progress you were making, as the company grew and
Mhm.
evolved. So,
You said about yourself that you're a perfectionism. How does that tie in with being in a startup? From what I hear, it's a little chaotic at times.
yeah, actually, those two things really don't go together well at all. And one thing that I have always said is, um, there's nothing like a startup to sort of beat your perfectionist tendencies out of you. And I think that was really what I experienced. I remember so distinctly my boss in that first job asking me to work on some of our software tools and set things up. And I spent all of this time and perfectly planned it out. And I thought that I had everything just exactly the way that it needed to be. And then a week later, I found myself completely redoing it because the business had evolved. We had learned new things and we needed to change how we were doing it. And it was so many of that kind of thing happened so frequently
Yeah.
that I realized I just kind of had to let go and just realized that in the context of a startup, there is no such thing as perfect, and it actually works against you. It's much, much better to put something out there and test it and use the software or put a product out to a customer and see what the reaction is and then evolve from that versus trying to wait till you have everything exactly right.
Oh, that's a tough one because I tend to do that too. I want everything
Yeah.
perfectly in place and like, love it, people. I know you will.
Yeah. 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 Well, just try to keep it in mind.
Yeah.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yeah. You stayed in startups a long time.
Mhm. Yeah, I worked in startups, I guess probably before our current company, Lilybird, for 11 years. And I think, like I said, it was the energy of it, and it's so fast paced, and there's so many problems to be solved that I loved it, and I still love it, and it's a really good fit for my personality. I think I would be pretty bored, to be honest, at a big company.
But you left the startup scene and started Lilybird about a year ago.
Hmm.
What happened? What pushed you over the edge, so to speak?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So, I mentioned early in my career, the working in a startup was something that was so fulfilling. And then, to be honest, I had a few years where it wasn't so fulfilling. And, I didn't feel like I was learning enough. I didn't feel challenged. And I had quite a few people in my life say to me, you have all this amazing startup experience. You should start your own company. But to be honest, I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I was capable of what I had seen other people do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of had it in the back of my head, but there was so much self-doubt in my mind that was really getting in the way. But
Mm-hmm.
then I had this really terrible, to be honest, really terrible 6 months in a job that sort of pushed me over the edge, and it was not a good fit, and I ended up leaving. And I was sort of so miserable that when I left, that as I was thinking about what I should do next, I kind of realized, I'm never going to feel ready to start a company myself. I think I just have to do it. I just have to give myself a little time and a little space to, come up with an idea or meet the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I decided to do. I decided to just sort of, force myself to do it, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Yeah, so you didn't jump out of your startup and said, my company is going to be Lilybird, and I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm helping women. I guess that's not how it started.
Yeah, that's right. I have a lot of respect for people who have those inspiration light bulb moments, but that was not exactly how Lilybird came to be. For me, I was at this inflection point in my career, like I mentioned, and I knew I really wanted to be solving real problems. Just like I had in the renewable energy world. It didn't need to be energy, but I really wanted to be solving a real problem, and specifically for women. I feel so strongly that there are not enough companies out there founded by women or focused on women. And so I really wanted to be doing something that would impact women's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I met my now co-founder, the idea was actually his.
Wait a
And
minute, his?
yeah,
There's a guy in the game?
yeah.
Oh, because when we're talking dribbles, I don't think that men would be interested in this topic.
Yeah, yeah. No, there are some out there, and he is absolutely wonderful. And he also recognizes that there need to be more companies that are very focused on women. And we both of us were inspired by the fact that we have both had family members who have issues with bladder leaks. And so when he approached me about this idea of working on something related to bladder leaks, it was really the perfect fit. It very much fit my desire to be focused on women and my desire to be solving a really big important problem. And especially in those first couple weeks, as we started doing a lot of interviews with women who experience bladder leaks on a regular basis, the more and more we realized just how much there is a need for what we're now doing, and just how much it impacts women's lives. And so it got me more and more excited as I went along, just how much impact we'd be able to have.
So when you think about a pad, or if you have incontinency problems, I always think of a huge diaper, and that's not what Lilybird is. So tell our listener more about the product, about
Yeah.
how did they get to be, and kind of what it looks like. It looks really cute, guys. If you look at her website, it's a really cute product. But tell them what it is, or how does it work, and all that.
Yeah, so the product was something that was so important to us. Really, we try to do everything that we do here with the customer in mind, and the customer is at the center of everything that we do. And coming up with a product was no different. And so as we started to look around at all of the products that are already out there, and we were really disappointed. Everything felt very geriatric in the way that it was designed and the way it was marketed. And as we looked at things, we just kept thinking, wow, no woman in their 40s or 50s or 60s is going to want to buy and use this product. They're not going to want to be seen in this aisle of their of their local drugstore.
Yeah.
And, we have to come up with something better. And so we did what we always do, was that we started just talking to women. We started to do some focus groups to really understand what was important to them. And, I remember actually sitting around a table with a bunch of women, talking about absorbency and comfort and fit. And, what does it mean to fit well? What does it mean to be really absorbent? And I remember holding up products to the group and saying, because one thing that they said was, most products aren't long enough. And I said, okay, well, but what is long enough? What's the right length? And I just remember holding up one by one all of these different pads to say, is this it? Is this one long enough? And I finally held one up and they said, that's it. That is the right length. So, long story short, we talked to a lot of women. We figured out what was important. And once we felt like we had a couple of options that we were really excited about for products, we then did some product testing, and we had a bunch of women actually use the products and evaluate them for us.
Did you go around to your friends and say, hey, test it out? Or how did you find test subjects?
Yeah, actually, that's pretty funny in and of itself. To be honest, we actually found those women, I think, largely on Craigslist.
Oh.
Yeah. And Craigslist is actually a really popular spot for posting focus group type activities. And it was actually important. I think we didn't go to family members for that process. We might have just heard that everything was wonderful because they wanted to be nice.
Yep, that's true too.
Yeah. So we did that, we did that round of product testing and made some final decisions. And now we have what you see on our website.
Mm-hmm.
And it's both, we have both pads and an underwear product.
Uh-huh.
And the pads, I think, are the way that they're designed, I think, is really cool. They are a slight hourglass shape. I don't know about you, Heike, but my thighs touch. So, something needs to be a little bit narrower in the middle than
I
it is.
absolutely agree. The non-existing thigh gap, or the wishful thinking thigh gap, does not exist.
And then the other thing that's really unique about our product is that it has, I'll try to describe this, it's hard to do without a picture, but there are sort of elastics almost on the side. And what that means is that it holds the pad in a slightly curved shape so that it fits your body better. And that also helps to provide a seal so that the leaks don't leak out. And that feature actually is one that we hear from our customers really frequently, that it's their favorite.
Yeah, I can see that. That I saw the design, that the curvedness is something I hadn't seen, and I was like, the same as you said. We our thighs are touching, so our bodies are not straight. Like all the pads for other reasons I've used are like, no, this is just not fitting. It's like you said, not long enough, too wide, has weirdy sticky pads on them. So that's a good point with the roundedness of it.
Yeah.
So, but now I want to know, I'm sure our listeners want to know too. How did you come up with the name Lilybird? Because it could have been patio or something.
Yeah. Heike, I think coming up with a name has been one of the most challenging things that we have done. There is a great podcast out there called Startup, and the first season, it's this guy he's starting a podcasting company, and he makes a podcast about starting the podcasting company. And there's an episode about naming. And I went back and listened to that so many times while we were in the process of trying to come up with a name, because I felt like, even though he didn't know that I was going through the same thing, I felt a connection.
Uh-huh.
It's really hard. There are so many considerations, with everything online now. It's important that you have, an account on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter. And so you have to make sure that you have handles or usernames
Mhm.
on all those different platforms that are available. And then there's the trademarking. And so many different names out there have been trademarked. So
Mhm.
that was another thing. Finding a website URL is another challenge. And then finding a name that people like is
Yep.
actually more challenging than you would think. So just like we did with the products, we did something similar where we had a focus group and we just talked to a lot of different women to try to brainstorm, what are some of the feelings that we want to be important to this company?
Uh-huh.
Is it, freedom, empowerment, and sort of playing a word association game?
Yeah.
And finally, we kept coming up with with different ideas.
I just
And
thought of Power Pad.
oh, Power Pad. There we go. I love it. Maybe I'll start using that as an Instagram hashtag. Yeah, the alliteration is great. Um, so we started, we would come up with ideas and then we would run it by these women who we had done the focus groups with. And unfortunately, the response we usually got back was, nope, don't like it. Nope, don't like it. One of our early concepts was honey and hive. And I liked the idea because I was like, oh, a hive is like a community. And we had several women who said, no, bees sting. That's a horrible name for something that I'm going to put in a really intimate area of my
Oh,
body.
good
And
point.
yeah, exactly. Great point. Great. So we said, okay, we are moving on from honey and hive.
All right.
So we finally we finally created a survey with a bunch of different words in it. And we asked everyone, just, do you like this word? Do you not like this word? And out of that survey, what we found was that the word lily, everybody liked. I don't think
Mhm.
there was anybody who didn't like the word lily. And we said, okay, that, that's it. We're going to do something with the word lily. And then we started to try to think, because of what I mentioned about
Mhm.
trademarks and social handles, we couldn't just be Lily. So we started to try to think about what else could go with Lily.
Uh-huh.
And we loved bird because it evokes freedom, like I mentioned, that's so important.
Mhm.
And it also is evocative of the delivery aspect of our service.
Mhm.
So that's what we landed on, and we got, we've just gotten a lot of positive feedback about it. So it's definitely the name that feels right.
Yeah, it's such a cute name. I'm like, I buy that product just because it's cute. It has a cute name.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it. A labor of love to come up with it.
Well, I shared with you the story how Pursue Your Spark labored through the last 3 years to become
Yeah.
Pursue Your Spark. And you
Yeah.
think you're like, oh, I'm onto something, and nobody likes it. And then, oh, I'm onto something now. I know this is everybody's going to love it, and nobody loves it. And so, in my case, Pursue Your Spark. Everybody seems to love it and
Yeah.
onto it, just like Lily Bird.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely is a labor of love. Now, you
Absolutely.
had Lily Bird, you got your products made, you're ready to go, you have an awesome, cute website, you launched it, and what happened once you opened the company?
Yeah. So we launched in January of this year, and every entrepreneur's worst nightmare is that you build something and no one buys it. And we spent a lot of time interviewing people, testing products. We spent so much time testing before we officially launched everything. We felt really good going into the launch. And we launched everything and nobody came. Nobody bought it for the first couple of weeks. And those sort of downward mental spirals that we all can get into. I went into one of those, and I'm thinking, oh no, we're going to have to shut down the company, even though it never even really launched, and that's going to be so embarrassing. And of course, that's not actually what happened. Just like every other step of the way, it was just one challenge to overcome.
Yeah.
And so we went back to our sort of our core tenant, and we said, okay, we're going to focus on the customer, and we're going to learn, and we're going to figure out, what is it that's sort of getting in the way. And one of the key things that we did that was so helpful, we used I'm not getting paid for this. Maybe I should, but we used this website called usertesting.com. And it's so cool. You can put in a lot of filters and essentially make a survey to say, these are exactly the kind of people that I want to go through this website test that you create. Mm-hmm. So we were able to get women who actually experience bladder leaks on a daily basis to be the ones that were testing for us through this platform. And it didn't take very many data points for some really common themes to emerge, and really simple things like, I want to know, sooner when I get to your website, how much is this going to cost? Yeah. And we said, of course, that's what you want to know. But we're so far in the weeds that we hadn't even noticed that. And so we were able to make just some little tweaks, and things really started to take off from there.
So we put that in the show notes, usertesting.com, for anybody who's running a business themselves or thinking about a business. Sydney said this is a great place to get somebody to, other than yourself, to look at your website.
Yeah, it's great. Would highly recommend it.
This is so exciting. It's like the first sales come in, and I know I see you on social media everywhere with Lily Birds. Now, it takes a lot of guts to start what you did, even with a partner. And when we talked earlier about perfectionism and self-doubt, what would you tell other women dealing with perfectionism and self-doubt, not necessarily only in an aspect of opening a business, but as a general advice or thought?
Yeah, it's so hard. I think self-doubt and perfectionism are things that so many of us struggle with. But I think my answer would be to sort of go back to the basics of what really drives you. And what I hesitate to use the word happiness, but maybe the word fulfillment. What makes you feel fulfilled? What inspires you? And I think if you are able to focus your life on something that really inspires you, that self-doubt sort of starts to fade into the background. I know for me, another, something really important to me in having the courage and confidence really every single day to be an entrepreneur is to surround myself with a support system. And for me, that's my friends, it's my family. I have a couple of friends who are just such wonderful cheerleaders. They want to hear every update about how things are going, and tell me constantly how proud of me they are. And it really is meaningful to hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So,
Is your husband involved at all with your company?
well, I suppose not technically,
Okay.
but I mean, as you would imagine, being married to an entrepreneur, he gets the full story pretty much all the time. He is one of those really important uh, pillars of support in my life to keep me positive and confident and have the courage to keep going.
Oh, that is really important to have that support system. I
Hmm.
agree. And
Yeah,
people that lift you up and things, especially in the beginning, don't quite go so well, and they're like, "Come on, let's try a different angle. Let's look at this
right.
differently."
Right. Yeah, the other thing I would say about that, Heike, is I think as long as you still have an idea or some ideas, you haven't failed yet.
Hmm.
And that's something, I every day there's a new challenge for me to solve. And I enjoy that, but it also takes a lot of energy. And sometimes it's easy to get frustrated to say, oh, this didn't work and this didn't work, and oh, I have to try something new. But as long as there is still, I still have something on my brainstorm list that I haven't tried yet,
Yeah.
there's the motivation to keep going.
Yeah. How can people reach you, Sydney?
Yeah. So we are on the web. Our website is mylilybird.com. So mylilybird.com. We are on Facebook and Instagram as well. And for people who really would rather just give us a call, that we're happy to talk to customers all day long too. And our phone number is 833-444-9477.
Where can people learn more about Lily Bird and buy it?
Yeah, so that would be on our website. So mylilybird.com. And I would also mention, actually, we have a pretty robust blog that's linked from our website.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that's really important to us is, not just selling products, but really to provide holistic solutions to women. And often that means a combination of both products and things like pelvic floor exercises or diet changes or bladder training. And so there's a huge amount of information and resources on our blog about all of that kind of stuff that people can access as well.
Oh, that's so important. I agree with you. Bring the education with the product because
Mm-hmm.
some people may not even know how to do a Kegel or what the heck a Kegel even is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the good news is we have a couple of great articles about Kegels. So everyone can make sure that they're doing them right.
Perfect. So that's all I have for today.
All right. Well,
That
thank
was
you so much, Heike.
This was so fun, Sydney. I'm so glad you came on the show today to share Lily Bird with my audience and myself too, because I mean, I'm 58 and I'm in need of some Lily Bird every now and again when I sneeze or laugh.
Yeah, most of us are. Well, thank you so much for having me, Heike. It was really a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Sydney, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So there you have it. No more dribble dilemmas. We get education, we get pads and disposable underwear. What's not to like about this? I sure have ordered my first round of Lily Bird pads and underwears in particular. And you know what? I'm not embarrassed about it because that's just how life is. And in midlife, after children, that's just what happens. Why not find something that helps you and you feel comfortable in it? So, with that, thank you for listening. I loved having you here, and I'll see you next time on the Pursue Your Spark podcast. Ciao.